Story 1: The Phantom Pursuer. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the desolate bus stop, John felt a chill run down his spine. He had just finished another monotonous day at work and was eagerly awaiting the bus that would take him home. The street lamp flickered ominously overhead, painting eerie patterns on the cracked pavement. Out of nowhere, a strange man appeared, seemingly materializing from the encroaching darkness. He was a gaunt figure, draped in tattered clothing, and his eyes bore an unsettling emptiness. John's heart quickened, but he dismissed his unease as the product of a tired mind. The bus finally arrived, its doors hissing open, and John stepped inside. To his bewilderment, the peculiar stranger followed him, his footsteps silent, as though he were a phantom. John's fellow passengers appeared oblivious to the newcomer, their gazes locked on their smartphones or lost in thought. As the bus rumbled through the city streets, John couldn't shake the feeling that something was horribly wrong. He discreetly observed the enigmatic man, who remained untouched by the world around him. Passengers boarded and disembarked, yet none acknowledged the stranger's presence. John's anxiety deepened when the bus reached his stop. He reluctantly got off, and to his dismay, the unsettling man followed. The night had grown colder, and the fog that clung to the streets added to the eerie atmosphere. Desperate to shake off his uninvited companion, John quickened his pace, his footsteps echoing through the silent, dimly lit streets. He glanced over his shoulder, and terror gripped him as he realized the stranger was still there, shadowing his every move. With each step, John's fear grew, and he dared not look back again. He could hear the stranger's footsteps drawing closer, but when he finally mustered the courage to turn around, the man had vanished, as if swallowed by the night itself. Gasping for breath, John stumbled the rest of the way home, haunted by the inexplicable encounter. He couldn't shake the feeling that the strange man was still out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to reappear and shatter his reality once more. Story 2: The Phantom Warning. On a stormy night, with rain lashing against the bus windows and thunder rumbling ominously, Emily boarded the last bus of the evening. She was tired, her footsteps heavy as she ascended the steps and took a seat towards the back. The bus was nearly empty, save for a few scattered passengers, their faces a mix of exhaustion and anxiety. As the bus trundled down the wet, winding road, Emily noticed a figure sitting a few rows ahead. It was a woman shrouded in a long, dark coat and a hood that concealed most of her face. The woman seemed odd, her presence unsettling in the dimly lit bus. Emily couldn't help but watch her, her unease growing by the minute. The woman turned to look at Emily, her eyes piercing through the shadows. She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a crumpled piece of paper. Her bony fingers wrote something on it in haste, and then she carefully folded the note. With an eerie calm, she leaned forward and handed the note to Emily. Shivers ran down Emily's spine as she unfolded the note. The words were stark and chilling, written in a hasty scrawl. "This bus will crash." Terrified, Emily looked around, her eyes locking with the other passengers. She decided to share the eerie message with them, her voice trembling as she did. Panic spread like wildfire through the bus, and passengers began demanding that the driver stop immediately. The driver, puzzled and concerned, pulled the bus over to the side of the road. Passengers were shouting, crying, and frantically trying to get off. Emily looked back towards the woman who had passed her the note, ready to confront her about this cruel prank. But to her shock, the woman had vanished. Her seat was empty, the hooded figure nowhere to be seen. It was as though she had never existed. The passengers, now huddled outside in the pouring rain, were left bewildered and terrified. The police were called, and an investigation was launched to find the mysterious woman who had caused the panic. But no trace of her was ever discovered. The incident left a chilling mark on those who had been on that bus, a lingering fear that the message she had left might have been a warning from a presence beyond their understanding, a foreboding of something they would never truly comprehend. Story 3: The Midnight U-Turn. The passengers on the evening bus had no reason to believe that their mundane commute would turn into a nightmarish ordeal. Among them was Daniel, a quiet man with an unassuming presence. He boarded the bus like any other passenger, but he carried with him a sinister secret. The bus was en route through the dimly lit streets when Daniel's demeanor took a strange turn. With a calm, authoritative voice, he began instructing the bus driver to veer off their usual route and onto a narrow, treacherous road that led to a notorious cliff. The bus driver, initially bewildered, soon found himself compelled to follow these eerie directives. The passengers, initially absorbed in their own thoughts, now began to notice the abrupt change in their journey. Panic rippled through the bus as passengers shouted and cried out for the driver to stop and turn back. But it was as if he were under a spell, unable to resist the strange power emanating from Daniel. As the bus continued down the perilous road, fear and desperation gripped the passengers. The winding path was surrounded by dense, looming trees, and the abyss of the cliff seemed to draw nearer with each turn. The bus approached a treacherous curve known for frequent accidents and deadly falls. Desperation filled the air, and a group of passengers driven by terror decided to confront Daniel. With trembling voices, they demanded that he release his control over the driver. Daniel simply smiled, his eyes filled with an unsettling gleam. It was clear that he possessed some supernatural power over the situation. The passengers, undeterred, decided to take a different approach. They knew that they needed to subdue Daniel to break his spell. With sheer determination, they rushed toward him and wrestled him into submission. As he lost control, the driver snapped back to his senses, and the bus came to a screeching halt. With Daniel subdued and his power broken, the passengers threw him out of the bus onto the side of the treacherous road and compelled the driver to make a U-turn back toward safety. Their collective courage had saved them from the abyss that had loomed so close. As they continued on their journey, they were united by a newfound sense of camaraderie, having triumphed over the darkness that had threatened to consume them.